The Dak Prescott conversation has just been, it is what it is. We understand what it is when you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. But one thing that's been interesting to us is that the way that this offense has changed seems to have been a lot because Dak Prescott had a lot of turnovers last year. We're going to talk more about it as the show goes along, but do you think that Mike McCarthy's approach to offense is a little bit of an overreaction to the interceptions that Dak Prescott had last year?
Yes and no. I think McCarthy's approach to offense is really innovative in a sense in comparison to Kellen Moore. When you talk to the players during training camp, they would say, well, we just made some stuff up. The cadence was what it was. We had a lot of option routes. And Mike McCarthy's like, here's the reason why we're running this route. Here's the reason why we're taking a 3-step drop. Here's the reason why we're changing the offensive line scheme. There's a reason behind everything. It was something that he did when he was the head coach of the Packers. It was something he did when he was calling plays for the Saints. It was something he did when he was, working with the Chiefs. That is what he does. There's a reason for everything. And it's not so much innovative, this is basic stuff, but it's innovative in comparison to what they did under Kellen Moore and Jason Garrett. And I think it's great. It does minimize the ability for a quarterback to gamble, which is a good thing. I'd rather, Dak Prescott throw the ball away than try to throw a ball in double coverage when the game's on the line. So that's a positive, in my opinion. Now, down the line, during this season, yes, it's going to be a game where Dak Prescott's going to have to say, you know what? It's double coverage. I got to throw this ball because we're down 2 scores. That's just how the game goes sometimes. And so we're going to see Dak Prescott. He'll throw some interceptions. He might throw 7, 8 interceptions this year. It's going to happen. He's a human being. But I think overall the offense looks great outside of the red zone issues that they're having. But I think even that will even itself out during the course of the season.
Let's stick with that for a quick second, Calvin. How would you go about trying to fix these red zone issues based on what you've evaluated and seen through the first few weeks of the season?
I think some of it is bad luck. Dak throws a pass to Luke Schoonmaker, and he can't catch the ball. Well, we're not throwing the ball to you anymore. We can't trust you. Peyton Henderson, I think, also dropped another pass inside the red zone. You 2 guys, we can't throw the ball to you anymore. And there's nothing against them. It's that we can't rely on you. I think that's part of the problem. The offensive line has been herky-jerky with the health issues of Tyron Smith, Tyler Smith, Zach Martin, Tyler Biotis. So we haven't really had a continuity with the line, so they can't really run up in there the way they need to. Tony Pollard is light in the ass in comparison to Zeke Elliott, excuse my friend. So you don't have a thumper that can get in there, but you got to make some holes for me either way, right? So I think you should have more fade routes to CeeDee Lamb. I would like to see, and I had a good talk with Brandon Cooks about this. I said, hey, you don't have a lot of size in the red zone. He says, who cares about the size? Scheme us to get open, and you throw us the football. Yeah, Brandon Cooks and I were talking about it, and he was like, I'm like Antonio Brown in terms of the size and my physicality and that kind of thing. So scheme them up, stop throwing the people who you can't depend on, and stop trying to trick it up. They were doing a jet sweep with CeeDee Lamb. Stop that. Dak and Pollard ran into each other. So it was a run-pass play call. Dak said we're going to run. Tony thought they were going to pass, so they ran into each other. So about communication issues, that kind of thing, that will happen. As I said, over the course of the season, it will even itself out.
I'm very glad that you continued as we're talking to Calvin Watkins right here on 105 through the Fan after saying I'm like Antonio Brown, because that could go a lot of different ways. That could go so many different ways.
When we were talking and he said it, I looked at it, I was like, okay, let me hear this.
Yeah. But with that being the case, I was interested in the linebacker core. The Cowboys made a move to add a linebacker to the practice squad after, Brock Hoffman has been added to the 53-man roster, so using that roster spot to beef that up. But what's been your evaluation of the linebacker play thus far through these first 4 games, particularly knowing that they've been kind of light in that room?
Leighton Vander Esch and Damone Clark had a really good game last week against the Patriots. That might have been Vander Esch's best game of the season in that Patriots contest. Up until then, I was not impressed with the linebacking core, and I had high hopes for them because I really liked Damone Clark. I thought he looked good in training camp. I like Van Der Esch, but the problem with Van Der Esch is he can't stop people in space. You get him in space, you're going to break his ankles. You get a pass him, he's not going to catch you. That's okay because that's his limitations. But he's a good tackler. He's really smart. He gets people lined up. Clark, I expect a lot more out of him because he's athletic. I loved him at LSU. If you remember, they lost your boy Overshawn towards ACL the preseason out in Seattle. So they're missing a kind of like that tweener guy who I think can really add some juice to that group. Jaron Kersey's a safety. He's playing a pseudo linebacker spot, trying to help him out a little bit. Signing this kid, I think, is going to be good for them. I think, you know what I'm saying? Because someone gets hurt, you can call him up, and then you see what you got. But they need to build off what they did against the Patriots in this 49er game.
Calvin, as we start to turn our attention a little bit as we get to Wednesday tomorrow, and obviously the Cowboys, get back to the practice field to get ready for San Francisco. Your thoughts on this matchup and Jerry, what he talked about today with our guys on the morning show with Sean and RJ about this being a measuring stick game and feeling like San Francisco is the team right now that he would pick to win the Super Bowl. What are your thoughts about this matchup, knowing what's happened with these two teams the last couple of years?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that Jerry said that. Hey, the 49ers, my Super Bowl pick. I thought Jerry might have been a few cocktails this morning. I don't know, but I've never heard someone at that high level of a position, ownership of a team, say this is a team that projected to win the Super Bowl. It's interesting to me that he said that. I thought he might have misspoke a little bit there, but the 49ers are, let's be honest, they're one of the title contenders, as is the Eagles. I wanted to remind you, the Eagles won the Super Bowl last year, not the 49ers, but that's another story for another day. But he's right. The 49ers are a top team. The Cowboys have been eliminated by the 49ers the last two seasons. And it's so early in the year. But if you win this game, say you're Dallas, if you win this game, you can set the tone for the rest of the season. And you can quiet some of the whispers about we can't believe in the Cowboys. Because remember, when they lost out in Arizona, everyone was like, same old Cowboys. Because they're supposed to be undefeated going to this 49er game, right? But instead, they got a loss. And everyone had questions about them now. And they blow out the Patriots, and now we're like, oh, okay, maybe they're okay. But still, people are going to take the 49ers in this game because they're at home, and the Cowboys have not proven that they can beat an elite team such as the 49ers because they haven't. So I do agree with Jerry that, in a sense, that you want to get to where you want to go, you got to beat the 49ers on Sunday night.
Now, Calvin, before we let you go, one of the things that this team did was they spent literally the highest draft capital that they could in trying to address run defense and run stopping. And that was one of the big issues for them against the Arizona Cardinals. We saw them hold Ramondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott and the rest of the Patriots to not too much. Do you feel like that is something that they have well addressed and that is largely behind them? Because, as you know, the Niners are a team that could do that well with Christian McCaffrey and co.
Oh, yeah. They did a nice job against the Patriots. I was a little surprised that Zeke didn't play as much as he did. Not to say I thought he was going to start, but I just thought he would get some more touches. But then the game got away from them and New England had to pass, whatever. I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, the Cowboys' run defense is back. I'm not going to say that because I saw Arizona running up all over them out in the desert. And as you said, McCaffrey can do it. Debo is Debo for a reason. The Niners have a very good offensive line. I do like Osa. I do like Hankins. I do like what the Cowboys have in the middle of that line. I would like to see a little bit more of Mozzie. He's only getting about 15, 16 snaps a game and that kind of thing. So it's too early to say, the Cowboys' run defense is fixed. Because a lot of times they could do their run fits and they get blown off the line. A lot of times they're right there off the edge and someone just outruns them. So we just talked about Van Der Esch can't cover people in space. Well, that's in the run game too. So it's some ways to go here before we could say, the doomsday defense is in Dallas right now, because it's not. It's just not right now. The secondary is good. I like the pass rush, but the run defense is always going to be a wart that the Cowboys are going to have to deal with all season because, as McCarthy said before the season started, people are going to attack us there because that's our weakest link on the defense.